Assalamu alaikum all. So today I am going to be talking about how I learn vocabulary in a fun way. Now, learning a new language does require learning a lot of words, and I could never learn long list of words. I used to get bored. I used to just couldn't just keep it up every day, and it just really wasn't like enjoyable. I'm trying to sort of almost force things into my brain. And I used to think that was the only way to learn the language, which was just to go through long lists of words and just keep trying to memorize it. But there is actually better, more enjoyable ways. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. So for those that are new here on this channel, I share my journey learning languages as a Muslim. Now, why are vocabulary lists or word lists not good for me? Now, generally, from what I've read as well, it's not the optimal way to learn words because you just got a bunch of words. You have no context to those words. You're just learning one word, and it's not probably like a good way for you to kind of remember things. You kind of don't know how to use that word, and it can be quite difficult to memorize, especially if you've got one list and another list and another list, and then knowing when to record the right sort of word. And as I said earlier, it's kind of you're trying to force your brain to have all this information, and the brain needs to kind of accept and learn things in its kind of own sort of way and develop the necessary sort of connections and what have you. So and basically when I used to see these long lists of words, it used to kind of fill me with dread. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do another long list of words. This is the only way I'm going to learn the language. I've just got to kind of just force myself and try and do it. And it was one of the ways that I probably ended up sort of just giving up really. And essentially it's just not fun. Well, for me anyway, just seeing a long list of words and trying to go through it, trying to remember it, trying to go back to it. I've tried different flashcard apps like Anki and things like that. I've tried Duolingo as well, but just couldn't quite, stick to it really, and wasn't kind of really working for me. And as I said before as well, you can end up giving up just because you just got these constant list of words and you think this is what your whole language learning journey is going to be. But there is a better way, and basically the way that I spoke about before, one of the best ways to make it fun is to watch YouTube and Netflix, because you can watch those with those subtitles in your target language. And you can also use various sort of tools out there. There's one called Reverso and another one called Language Reactor, which I really like. I used to use Reverso, but I kind of switched to Language Reactor, and you could just kind of highlight certain words that might be useful for a beginner in their vocabulary learning, and you can just hover over the word and it gives you a translation of that word. It's like really good, and it's quite a fun way to kind of learn languages. Just find a program that you like and just keep watching it and just pick up little bits in a kind of passive sort of way. And I think it's really good. Now, Language Reactor, I'm currently using the pro version, so that you have to sort of pay for. So you watch Netflix and YouTube, and I can actually mark words that I know or that I'm studying. And when those words pop up again, they turn up in orange. It's a really good way to say, oh, hang on, I've seen that word before. It's a really good way to kind of see words that are popping up again and again and again. So, words such as avec, aussi, these are words like with, and also they keep popping up maintenant, je t'aime, je suis, like words just popping up, and okay, what does that mean? And then just by seeing it like regularly and in different contexts and being said by different people kind of really helps it kind of get into my brain. And and what I would say is with Language Reactor, you don't have to pay to start using it. You can just start using it straight away. They do have like a free version. So I'll definitely recommend it, and I'll make sure to have a link in the description for it. Another good way I find to sort of learn vocabulary is to read and listen to whole sentences with the word. So it's a good way to kind of kill two birds with one stone, because you're kind of seeing the word in context, and you're probably learning a little bit of sort of grammar and maybe a few other words as well at the same time. Now, for example, there's a word that is puis-je avoir un baguette classique s'il vous plaît, which is I want to get a classic baguette. Now, just by seeing the whole sentence, it's a lot more easier for me to remember rather than trying to remember one word. I'm also kind of seeing it in context as well, and I definitely believe that's like a lot better for the brain, kind of just seeing it in the sentence. And also having the sentence in audio is really good, and because that kind of helps me practice and kind of learn that sentence better. And I have an online tutor that I use in Preply, and you can see my previous video about that. I'll make sure to have a link to that in the description. And I talk about how this tutor kind of wrote some sentences for me and gave me some audio as well. And it's been kind of really helpful as well. So kind of listening to the audio and kind of reading the sentences and trying to build up sort of my vocab like that. And another good thing is just to make the sentences kind of relevant to me as well. So for example, I like halal food. So when I go to France, sentences that kind of help me discover or identify halal foods. So for example, supermarché, the produit halal means, you know, a supermarket with halal products. So yeah, it just kind of sticks better in the brain as well. So that's another good way to kind of pick stuff up. And another thing is, like something that Lingo Steve spoke about, is, you know, just relax and let the language come in. You know, it's almost like, he had this quote, I can't remember who it was from exactly, but just, it's impossible for the brain not to learn. So just by constantly just feeding your brain, just watching stuff, looking at sentences, like, don't put pressure on yourself. You know, it's something that will happen naturally, and, you know, it will happen slowly, and, you know, the words will start to come in, and you will build that language knowledge. And that's something, you know, I need to kind of keep on believing in. And the most important thing is just to keep going. You know, it's when you're in a rush, you're less likely to sort of pick up a language. So, you know, you can't force it. So that's what I'm planning to do. And also, if you hate memorizing long lists of words, I want to let you know there is other ways to do it. As I've already mentioned, I used to think, oh gosh, you know, that's the only way. You just have to go through words and just go through long lists and things like that. And that's why I believe, you know, a lot of people stop reading or learning a language. It's because of these kind of long lists and just not enjoying it and just thinking there's no alternative. But there is an alternative. There is ways for it to come in that are more enjoyable and more likely make you stick to that language. So yeah, just want to say assalamu alaikum. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button.